Hello everyone, my name is Natalie and welcome to my channel. I don't know what happened to Friday's video. I planned to do one day it was Thursday, and the next thing I knew it was Saturday. But you didn't miss much, it was just a quick little book haul from where I did some post-finals retail therapy at Barnes & Noble. I got City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab, Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and Melmoth by Sarah Perry. And you will be seeing these books later in this video because I'm actually reorganizing my bookshelves and giving you a little bookshelf tour while I'm at it. This is actually the finishing product you're seeing behind me, or at least part of it, because I had to refilm my intro. This will probably be a bit of a long video, so make sure to grab a hot drink, a little snack, and sit tight. My books is first by genre, and then within that by alphabetical order of the author's name. I've tried a lot of different ways of organizing it. This is just the most convenient way for me to keep track of my books. So this top shelf is historical fiction and kind of segueing into mystery, since a lot of my mystery books are also historical. First on my shelf is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. Then I have all my Eva Ibbotson romance books. They include Countess Below Stairs, A Song for Summer, The Morning Gift, and The Reluctant Heiress. Melmoth by Sarah Perry, All Quiet on the Western Front by Eric Maria Remarque, and Only to Deceive by Tasha Alexander. If you're reading this, It's Too Late by Pseudonymous Bosch, In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, A Very Long Engagement by Sebastian Chapresseau, The Dante Club by Matthew Pearl, and The Last Buccaneer, also by Matthew Pearl. On the second shelf, we have some more mystery books. The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin, The Book of Dead Days by Marcus Sedgwick. The last mystery book I have is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. Since the majority of those books took place in the past, I thought the most natural progression would be to do contemporary books next. The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Anne Brashares, The Book of Jonas by Stephen Dow, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, Great Wide Sea by M.H. Herlong, Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. And to end that section, Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Although now that I'm thinking about it, it should actually maybe go in the children's and middle grade fiction, so I'll go ahead and move that. To start with the children's and middle grade fiction section, we have Time Cat by Lloyd Alexander, Matilda by Roald Dahl, Ingo by Helen Dunmore, The Outsiders by S.C. Hinton. Then I have all of my Warriors books by Aaron Hunter. These were like one of my favorite series in middle school because I was obsessed with cats and I read all the books. I've held on to these for sentimental reasons and also because I don't want to pass this on to my younger cousins since I don't have all the books in order or anything. I have the very first book in the entire series, Into the Wild, The Darkest Hour, Starlight, Dark River, Long Shadows, and Sunrise. Then I have Blue Star's Prophecy, which is one of the super editions. Next, I have my Gail Carson Levine books, Ever Embarrassed, and lastly, The Two Princesses of Bamar. Next, we have Furthermore by Taha Ramafi, The Secret Kingdom by Ginny Nimmo, and after that is where I moved Wonder. This third shelf continues the middle grade and children's fiction, and then it just moves into a mixture of YA, fantasy, and sci-fi books. Farjack Paw by S.F. Sad, City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab, The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear, Spellbinder by Helen Stringer, Midnight by Jacqueline Wilson. We then segue into my YA I have the whole Grisha trilogy, which includes Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. I also have the Language of Thorns, which I had to lay flat because it's too tall to fit on my middle bookshelf. Underneath that, I have The Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare, the last book in the Infernal Devices. I actually have not read this book. I have read Clockwork Angel, and that was a long time ago. I can't remember if I like it, but I'm planning on revisiting the series. I picked that up at a used book sale with the intent to do so. Next I have The Iron Thorn by Caitlin Kitteridge, Swiftly Tilting Planet by Madeline L'Engle. Number 3 in, I can't remember what the series is called, but the Wrinkle in Time Quintet or whatever. My mom meant to buy the first book, A Wrinkle in Time, and she accidentally got this one instead. But I am planning on continuing the whole series at some point, so I'm keeping this. Then I have The Host by Stephanie Meyer, Winter by Marissa Meyer, the last book in the Lunar Chronicles. My sister has the first 3 books, so they're on her shelves. As much as I hate splitting up series, I bought Winter with my own money, so it's staying on my shelves. I have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, one of my favorite books of all time. East by Edith Patu. And the last book on this shelf is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Next I have all of my Rick Riordan books, starting with the original series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I have The Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. I also have The Red Pyramid. To end this section of my bookshelf, I have both of Laini Taylor's Strange the Dreamer books, which is Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares. For my classics, I have a bunch of them stacked because that was the only way I could keep them on this one bookshelf. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and I also have her first book, Sense and Sensibility, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux, Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, Cry the Beloved Country by Alan Paton, The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, Dracula by Bram Stoker, and finally Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And that is all for my main fiction bookshelf. Bookcase. This top shelf has all of my anthologies, plays, and poetry. I'm not going to take them out because they're what everything else is stacked on, but I have this book on gnomes and then another that's, I think it's like Norse runes, and then it has these fairy illustrations and a story to go with each one. Starting on my anthology section, The Showing Forth of Christ. It is a collection of John Donne's sermons, and I have his poetry later on. An anthology of Dostoevsky's short stories, A Cat's Life by Anitra Fraser and Norma Eckroat, Grimm's Fairy Tales, The Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe, Eugene Onegin and Other Stories by Alexander Pushkin, 19th Century Stories by Women, and the poems books of Psalms. Next on to plays, Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream and King Lear. I actually have 4 copies of King Lear in total because they were given to me by my ed psych professor earlier this semester. I was the only English ed student in my class block, so she gave me some extra copies to start building up a classroom library. I've stuck those other copies at the end of the next shelf just because I don't need all of them right now. Next we have Main Street by Sinclair Lewis. I know this isn't a play, but it was gifted to me alongside the next book, and for some reason I just can't think of them apart. They're just associated that way. So Main Street. And the next one is Pygmalion and Three Other Plays by George Bernard Shaw. The last set of plays I have are from Oscar Wilde. Moving on to my poetry section, the complete poetry of Maya Angelou. The Everyman's Library collection of Bronte poems. I believe these are from Emily Bronte. Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. We have Ballistics by Billy Collins. I really need to go through and just take off all these stickers from my books. I always forget to do that. The Collected Poems of Emily Dickinson. The Complete English Poems by John Donne. Spoon River Anthology by Edgar Lee Masters. How to Read a Poem and Fall in Love with Poetry by Edward Hirsch. A 40th anniversary edition of Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. As you can tell, the book jacket unfortunately got a bit torn. Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. And my last poetry book is another Everyman's Library Pocket Edition, this time of Wordsworth poems. This final shelf is my nonfiction, and then there's also some religious books on the end. Sorry if there's any background noise. My parents are watching football in the other room and are very involved. First, we have The Complete Idiot's Guide to American History by Alan Axelrod. I had this for my AP US History class. I did have a European History edition, but I loaned that to someone and never got it back. Whether you're in a class and you're having a hard time or you're just wanting to learn more about history, these books are really good. Bienville's Dilemma, A Historical Geography of New Orleans by Richard Campanella. I received this as part of an award. I believe it was for community service and then academics, with an emphasis on English. Lady Elmina and the Real Downton Abbey, The Lost Legacy of Highclere Castle by the current Countess of Carnarvon herself. Milton Cross's Complete Stories of Great Operas. Founding Brothers, The Revolutionary Generation by Joseph J. Ellis. This is another book I had to read for my AP US History class. The Civil War by Amy Gary. Cleopatra the Seventh, Daughter of the Nile by Christina Gregory. This is part of the Royal Diaries series, which is so good, but I'm actually going to move this to my main bookshelf, to the historical fiction section, because although it's based off of a lot of real accounts, there is some stuff that is made up or embellished on. 30 Things Good Teachers Know and Great Teachers Do by Marcy Hayes. The Black Count, Glory, Revolution, Betrayal, and the Real Count of Monte Cristo by Tom Rees. It's about Alexander Dumas' father, who was a general in the French Revolution. And the last nonfiction book I have is Mary Shelley by Miranda Seymour. Next, I have some religious books. A lot of them are left over from Bible studies. First, we have Crazy Love by Frances Chan, Pervin by Jenny Allen. Then I have this Christian fiction series by Jenny L. Coate, The Amazing Tales of Max and Liz, the first book, The Ark, the Reed, and the Fire Cloud, The Dreamer, the Schemer, and the Rogue, and The Prophet, the Shepherd, and the Star. These aren't all the books in the series. I believe there are 2 or 3 more. I read these middle school. I remember them being really cute. I don't think I'm going to reread them. I'm just keeping them around until my younger cousin is a bit older and is reading on this level. Next, we have Greater by Stephen Furtick. This one's really good. 7 Women and the Secrets of Their Greatness by Eric Metaxas. A Million Miles in 1,000 Years by Donald Miller. I'm not sure how religious this one is. I just didn't really know where else to put it. A Call to Die by David Nasser. This is another really good study. Radical by David Platt. These next 2 little books are How to Study the Bible, and I can't find an author for that one, and The Case for Christmas by Lee Strobel. And then, of course, I have those other copies of King Lear. They are all the blue edition from the new Folger Library. So these are all my books and my completed reorganization. And I added some decorations to my main shelf. I don't have a lot of bookish merch, so you can tell it's mainly candles. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to see more content. And I will see you Friday. Yes, there will actually be a Friday video this time. here on the mighty Quill.